Today is about activism, it is about spreading the vegan message, it is about why we should do it, it is about how we do it, it's about how to be effective when doing it, it's about who we are when we do it, and so many things. And I mean, for those who don't know, I'll just tell you a little bit about why I think the things that I do and why I think that the approach I use is effective. And I'll just summarize real quick. The Vow of Silence that I did, which was my first form of activism, that was the reason why I took that form of activism is because it can be interesting to anybody. You do not need to be an animal lover or a vegan to be intrigued by somebody who's stopping speaking for an entire year. That particular action reached millions and millions of people all around the world. In the interview where I spoke for the first time, and tens of thousands of people reached out to me inspired by that. So right there already, obviously something about that approach and what I did works, because it reached millions of people, one person, millions of people. One of my speeches has now reached over 12 million people, and it was shared by the largest page on the internet, an animal rights page, the largest animal rights page on the internet. And they said that out of all the videos they've ever shared, no other video has ever influenced as many people to go vegan as that one. So there's definitely something about that approach there as well. Another one of my videos has over 9 million views. It's about the dairy industry. And so I guess what I'm just trying to say, I just want you to, understand the reason why I think what I'm going to tell you tonight, why it works, is because of the results. Is because it has results. And the beauty of the approach is that it's not just the best for the animals, it's also the best for us. So you know how like veganism, it's just like the Swiss Army knife, better for the environment, better for our health, better for the animals, the food's better, like it's everything. And I always think, well, that's so convenient, it's so lucky, because imagine if it wasn't better for the environment. People would have a really good reason not to go vegan, or it wasn't better for our health, they'd have another really good reason not to go vegan. But it just happens to be better for everything. And I think that's just sort of nature's way or something of saying, yeah, because this is the right path. And similarly, with this approach of activism, it's the same. It's better for us as well, because we're generating the good feelings. We're generating more of what we want to see in this world. We're generating more peace, and more respect, and more patience, and more understanding, and more love, and more compassion, rather than generating anger and hostility and agitation and frustration, all these things, right? So, and because it's like this similar thing where not only is it better for us, which is really convenient because it's also better for the animals. And I think again, it's nature's way of saying, this is the way. What I'm going to talk about isn't necessarily the best for everybody, but I believe it's the best chance we've got at reaching the most amount of people in an efficient way. Before I get too deep into the actual process and the approach and how they're applied and all those kind of things, I just want to sort of touch on actually why it's so important to be active. So right now, every single second, every single day, so many animals, millions a day, are being tortured and mutilated and killed constantly. And they're screaming in terror, they're suffering so much, they cannot get out of this situation themselves. We put them in it. Humans put them in it. Our choices that we used to make. Has anyone been vegan for life here? Okay, our choices in our past caused this situation to happen, and we furthered this problem. We do have a responsibility, I believe, a duty, as people who know, who are lucky enough to see it clearly and to understand speciesism and the discrimination and the injustice. We do have a responsibility to speak up against that and to say something about it and to do something about it and to speak up for animals in the way that we would want to be spoken for if it was us in their situation. That's one of the most powerful things I think we can think about. Is imagine if it's you in there, how would you want to be spoken for? What would you want done for you? Imagine if there's one of your loved ones in there, So what's really important is that we are focusing on the right message here. Now, there's so many people out there who will fight for elephants. There's so many people out there who will fight against Yulin. Yulin's the World Meat Festival. There are so many people out there who will fight to ban live export and to improve conditions in factory farms and to make slaughter a little bit less brutal. And, just to end further, there's a lot of people out there fighting for these things already. single issues, specific animals, certain types of cruelties. The only thing that will end all of it is veganism. That's the only thing that will end it all. I don't want a world where the answer that we've come to is to ban live export. That's not enough for me or for the animals. Not even close. I don't want a world where everyone's vegetarian. That's not the answer either. I don't want a world where the Yule and Dog Meat Festival has finally ended. I mean, of course, these are things I want as well, but they're nowhere near the end goal. And because there's already so many people that are going to fight for these things that aren't even vegan, my suggestion would be because no one else is going to fight for veganism, and veganism is the only thing that will bring an abolition to animal exploitation, then focus your energy on spreading the vegan message. So there's so many ways to do that, which I am going to get into soon, but just don't feel like you have to sacrifice your message. Oh, well, just go vegetarian. Oh, look, okay, I know asking for a vegan world's a lot, so let's just say, make the cages a little bit bigger. You don't need to do that. There's people already doing that. When there's pressure for veganism and for animal rights, those incremental improvements will happen anyway. Because the industries will be like, oh my God, people are not buying our product anymore. What can we do to keep them on board? Let's improve the welfare. And that's what will keep happening until it's like, well, you've improved it as much as you can, and that's not the issue. The issue is use. So our activism predominantly, I mean, you can still go to those events if you want, but really, because we have limited time, limited resources, limited energy, we should be focusing on the actual solution of the problem. If somebody goes vegan, they don't wear fur, they don't support BAM, they don't support live export, they don't support Yule, they don't support the killing of entire sheep, but they also don't support any of it. So it's like, why would you, if you had 10 minutes with somebody, why would you spend it trying to get them to buy free-range eggs instead of caged eggs when you could spend that 10 minutes saying a very clear, succinct message that will help them understand why it's all wrong. Does that make sense so far? So this is the message that is really important, and it's the right time for it. Maybe back in the past, 5 years ago even, it might have been a little, I mean, I think it still would have been the right thing to do, but we might have had less, what's the word, progress with people. But now, veganism is really trending. People understand veganism. Not everybody, but it's definitely a thing. Celebrities talk about it. Sports athletes talk about it. It's in the media, it's in the newspapers. Dairy farmers know all about it. Trust me, they know all about it. McDonald's know about it. They're making a vegan burger, vegan. There's, you know what I'm saying? There's so much happening. The UN are talking about it. The United Nations are talking about it. Health professionals are talking about it. So this is a time to, I know people are sort of considering things like, oh, I'm not going to say veganism. It's got all this bad connotations to it. You know, I'm just going to say plant-based. Don't throw it away now. We've worked so hard to get to this point. So many people came before us to get animal rights to this point. Don't throw veganism away now. If you feel like there's some bad connotations, you're right. There is. There's a lot, which I'm going to talk about real soon. But our job isn't to go, okay, now there's bad stigma around vegans and veganism, so let's just start a new word. It's like, no, let's change the stigma and let's make it a positive thing, which it is. It's so positive. Let's help people realize that, and let's lead by example and show how it's done so that people can understand why it's so good. So first and foremost, what I'm trying to say is that our activism, the foundation of it should always be a vegan message, non-use of animals, no exploitation. We don't need any of it, it's all completely unnecessary, we're better off in every way without it. We shouldn't be at all perpetuating the idea that they're here for us to use in any way, or a less bad way, or some use is okay but not others. They're not here for us to use. That's the bottom line, that's veganism, that's the core issue. Speciesism is the problem. And that's what we should be targeting here, that we are discriminating against them based on their species, and because of that, it gives us the belief that we can own them, that we can use them, that we can make them do things for us, that we can take things from them. And all of these things, and they're all wrong. That's the core. You don't need to sell it on the message. Some people think, oh, if I'm going to be a vegan activist, I have to be hectic. You can be hectic if you want. And I'll let me tell you a little story. I used to be hectic, man. I don't know, did anybody follow me during my bowel silence? Okay, so you don't know. I was a little bit hectic, especially, you know, most of you heard the story last night about Rupert the cow. After that, with that dairy cow, I was like, you murderers. You are murdering these animals. You are disgusting. If you're still going to support us after this post I've just written, you make me sick. Which was true. That's how I felt. Is that the best way to advocate for veganism? And to try to break this condition that's been in people's lives for decades and decades and generations and generations? Trust me, no. Because I tried it. I tried it really hard. The reason why I tried it, we all know Gary Roski, I'm sure. He was my biggest inspiration. Still, to this day, he's one of my biggest inspirations in terms of his dedication and his commitment. I definitely don't agree with everything he said, but his dedication and commitment were very inspiring to me, and his knowledge, very inspiring to me. And I saw how he advocated. You know, his speech is educational. There's a little slight kind of, I don't know if you call it an aggressive tone, there's a little bit of a tone there, but it's quite subtle. For the most part, it's just very good education, and the speech is great. But it was the other things that I noticed of his which were a little bit more aggressive, which is some new videos coming out and things like that. And because I thought, okay, how do I be the best activist? Well, who's the best? And I saw a guy and I thought, he's the best. He's helped the most people go vegan. I think that was probably true. You know, I'm not sure, but that was the impression that I got. I'd say that's probably true. And I thought, okay, so I'm just going to do what he did. So what's his style? Okay, it's aggressive, man. I saw how he responded to people online. I was like, whoa, is that how it's done? All right, let's go in. And so I started responding like that online as well. And I just got nowhere with it. I just got nowhere. Now maybe he has some success with it, I don't know. I know he's got a lot of success with this speech. Does he have success with that particular approach, online activism? I don't know. I didn't see very good response. But for me personally, when I tried it, I got nothing. No good. I just made people hate me and vegans even more. And I got nowhere. And I'd be in discussions for days, arguments for days, got nowhere. And thankfully, I spoke to my friend, you know Tanya from Inner Soul Shine, anybody? And the clothing brand, Inner Soul Shine? Eat veggies, no, what are they? Eat veggies, eat fruit, not friends, eat veggies, not animals, and vegan vibes and all that. She's one of my best friends. And I was telling her this day, I'm like, man, you know, all these people are making a lot of enemies. And she said, why are you doing it like that? And I said, oh, because, you know, Yorovsky's the most effective activist and this is how he does it, so I'm going to do it. She said, there's already a Yorovsky. He's already reaching that type of audience that will respond to that type of message. Why don't you do it your way? And I was like, well, because I want to be the most effective that I can. She said, I reckon you'll be even more effective doing it your way. And I didn't believe her, but just the possibility that that could maybe be true, or even just be, not even better, but even just be quite good, like better than what I thought it might. I thought, you know what, maybe you're right. Maybe I'll reach different people. I'm a different person. That's not working for me. It's worth a try. I hung up the phone, just like kind of excited to try something new. I go into my work. I was just starting personal training again, so it's just after my year of silence. And I sit in the spot at the office, and someone offers me a cup, like a muffin. And usually I would have been like, Yorovsky on the muffin, like, did you just offer me a muffin? Do you know what is in that muffin? What kind of cruel animal abuser are you? Like, I don't know what I would have said, but it would have been like a bit hectic. And even if my words weren't that hectic, my tone would have been, my attitude would have been. And I went in there, someone said, do you want a muffin? And I was like, nah, thanks for offering, I love muffins, but I don't eat muffins with animal products. Do you know what happens to the animals for those products to get into that muffin? No, what are you talking about? 5 minutes later, there's 3 of them crowded around the laptop watching my YouTube videos. And the muffin's sitting next to them. And I take a photo of it and I send it to Tanya. I'm like, it works! and then I started trying to do me, trying to do my own style, trying to be me. You know, I'm a chiller, man. I'm just a peaceful chiller. And I thought, I'm just going to do this my way and see what happens. You know, I felt a bit guilty. I'm like, I should be angry about this, but I'm like, maybe anger isn't my way. Let me just see what happens. And I start advocating in a different way. I start advocating with peace, with respect, with love with people. It took me a little while, but I started doing that. Now, when I really understood that this works was when I was at a speech in Melbourne, and I was giving a speech, and then 2 people walked in and they glared at me, so angry. And I sat in the front, and they had their arms crossed, and I was just staring, like cold. Oh man, these people in the right room, what's going on here? And I do my speech, they didn't laugh at anything that most people thought was funny. They didn't think it was funny. They didn't clap at the end, and then after the speech, Q&A, hand up. That's all well and good, James, what about the farmers? And I was like, oh, okay, so they're farmers. And we got into a long discussion about what about the farmers. And I explained the best I could that I don't want them to suffer either, but I don't want them to make profit at the expense of other beings' lives. We went back and forth for a long time, about 15 minutes on this topic, and I was trying to be peaceful. And here is one of the things I learned. One is that people will, I mentioned this yesterday, I think, there's always 3 options when you're talking to people. They can be aggressive and condescending and judgmental. You can stay positive and peaceful and respectful. They might bring you down, and you have an argument, no seeds get planted. You might bring them up, and something great can happen. We talk, went back and forth. It got negative in there, but I stayed chill. I went to a very chill place. He was red-faced, stamping his feet, looked like he was about to storm out. And then I just spoke to him with love. I said, listen, you're not my enemy. I don't hate you. I understand why you do what you do. It's in your family for generations. I just want you to know that I do respect you. I just don't respect your choices to harm these innocent beings. And I want to help you with an exit plan. And that's it. After the speech, he comes up to me. What about this, James? What about that, James? Asking all these questions. And so I was answering these questions. And he's like, you've got an answer for everything, don't you, mate? And I was like, yes. And then he sort of cracked a smile and he goes, maybe I'll call you later and ask you some more questions. And I was like, I'll be waiting by the phone. And then he smiled and he laughed and he shook my hand. And I was like, whoa. And then his wife, who was there as well, who was at least as angry, was cool. She was looking at me still. I'm like, I don't know if we are good. And she looked at me and she said, thank you for opening our eyes to this. A dairy farmer's wife. And I was like, no worries. And they walked out of there, right? Now they could have walked out of there hating on vegans even more. I knew they were like that. I hate vegans, they're so rude, they don't get us, they're so aggressive and judgmental. They're our enemies. They didn't walk out of there like that. They walked out of there going, vegan had some good points, didn't he? Yeah. He was a really nice guy, wasn't he? Oh yeah. They walked out of there with a good taste in their mouth about vegans. Change that stigma, change that stereotype. And it was a really good confirmation for me to realise that I don't need to fight a farmer because we have disagreement in beliefs and different ideas about what is right and what is wrong. I don't want to make this person my enemy. There's already enough anger out there, there's already enough friction and headbutting. We don't need any more anger. We need to show how it's done, how to lead with peace, how to walk the peaceful path, even with the people that are fighting against you. Gandhi said it really well. He said, if they curse at you, don't curse back. If they shoot at you, don't shoot back. If they hit you, don't hit back. Just keep moving forward. And how this works with what we're talking about is when you're getting into these conversations, these discussions, or people are questioning you, you don't need to make it a fight. You've got the answers, you've got the truth on your side. If they want to have this little tantrum, that's okay. If they want to get all up in arms about it and get angry and get upset at what you're saying because you're speaking your truth, that's with them. You do not need to go down to that level and reciprocate that or mirror that behaviour. Because you're on another level. That's the goal. You might not be, but we strive to be on another level. We strive to live the way, practice what we're preaching. We're practicing and preaching peace and respect and equality and love, etc., etc. It doesn't really make sense, in my opinion, to speak about these qualities with anger or with aggression or with being judgmental, right? It's just kind of like clashing. So the more of these qualities that we can grow inside of ourselves, the better our credibility will be. Because we're not just saying words and our actions don't match them. We're living what we're talking about. Even with people that don't agree, even with people that are aggressive to us, we are staying up here. We're not going down to that level. We're still up here. And what happened in this particular situation. I could have gone down and had this fight with these dairy farmers. Easy. I would have loved to. It's easy to fight. You know, and it happens all the time. You get online and people are smart and you're just like, you know what, I'm going to smash you in this fight. So here we go, because you're wrong. But does that help the animals? No, they don't. It's not going to help them. You respond with peace and respect, even when they don't show that to you. You are stepping up, taking to another level. That takes more from in here. Like, that takes something special. But you can do it. I'm going to explain how to do it soon. And the benefit in this moment is that they came up here with me. And we didn't leave with anger and frustration and walking further in the wrong direction, and me feeling more of a disconnect with people and how I advocate. I walked away going, wow, that was a great conversation. Some things really sinked in for them. They really listened. They walked away going, whoa, vegans aren't as angry and judgmental as I thought they were. They actually listened to us and understood. And we might disagree, but he did have some good points, didn't he? Totally different scenario, a positive scenario ended that could have gone so negatively, so easily. The approach works. So I want to first of all talk about how we kind of get this message out there. And I'm going to talk about how to be that, how to do it that way. Because it's easy for me to say to you, be chill, be chill. When people say, bacon, rise above. You'll be like, someone will say it and you'll start boiling. And you'll be like, I don't really know how to rise above right now. But you know, you need to know the technique, you need to know the process. And there is a technique and it works extremely well, so I'll explain it to you. Before all that though, we need to get the message out there. How do you get the message out there? You need to know the message. You need to know what the answers are to these questions. You need to get educated as an activist. That's the first thing. That's the first thing. This is so easy. Vegan activism is so easy. I am not a highly intelligent person, not even close. You don't need to be, because the same answers every single time. Protein, free range, humane slaughter, you know, it's always the same questions. You only have to learn like 10. You know, anyone can do that. When you know the answer to these questions, you have credibility. If someone asks you where to get protein and you're like, I don't know where I get protein, lentils, and that's all you've got, then you are not really helping them, because the reason why people aren't vegan right now is they think that they have reason not to be. They can't, they need to get protein. They don't think they'll enjoy the food. They think it's too expensive. They think it's not healthy for whatever reason. They think that it's going to be too inconvenient. There's a long list. Animals don't matter, fish don't feel pain. There's a long list, right? There's actually about 100 of these questions. You'll just generally hear about 10 of them all up. But there is about 100. You can go to Animal Rights FAQ to read all the questions, read all the answers. They're pretty much all there. People have reasons not to be vegan. I had reasons not to be vegan. We all had them initially. That's why we didn't go vegan the first time we heard about it. Because we have been brought up in a world that has told us you need dairy for calcium, you need meat for protein, animals are killed humanely, so don't worry about it. And they're below us, so who even cares? Like, all these things are part of our reasons why we don't go vegan. And I see these as like big brick walls, big concrete walls, let's say, big concrete walls. Veganism's on the other side of all these objections, all these walls. And our job is to put cracks in these walls and help them crumble down. To do that, you need to understand what this person's wall is. Right? Some people say, oh, I've told my family member everything, but they still won't go vegan. It's like, okay, you've told them everything, but they have a wall pit. So what is it? And then you might find out, oh, they think that it's too hard to cook the recipes. They don't know what to cook. So it's like, okay, so that's their objection. So to put a big crack in that, you can give them some recipes. You can show them some of your cooking. You can show them all the delicious vegan meals. You can get them watching some YouTube videos about vegan cooking. You can get them a vegan cookbook. All these things are going to put cracks into it to the point where they'll finally get to a point where they realize, oh, vegan cooking is just as easy as cooking animal products. Eventually the wall comes down once you've hit it enough times with a solid dose of the truth hammer. Does that make sense? Other objections can be free range. You know, that's a very honest objection, because people generally believe that free range, they're doing a favour for the animals by buying free range. And if all you say when someone says, what about free range, and all you know how to say is, yeah, like, I mean, it's a bit better, but it's still bad, that's something, but you can expand on that answer so much. So when somebody says, oh, you know, by free range animals, you could say something like, that's really great that you care about animals to the point where you want to actually do something to try to make their life better. But free range means next to nothing for the animals. If you're buying free-range animals, you're still paying for animals to be exploited and sent to a slaughterhouse. All free-range organic animals still end up at the same slaughterhouse, getting their heads cut off or put into a gas chamber or whatever many of the other ways that they're killed. So even though you might be taking them out of a small cage and keeping them in a bigger cage, they might be in that bigger cage with 30,000 other animals, which brings all these other stresses to it, and then they will still end up. And that's so cool. You are going to save lives. You are going to save lives. You are going to add years to your friends and family's life. That's amazing. That is truly amazing. Just by helping them understand why they can get almond milk instead of cow's milk. It's not hard, you know. So it's a really powerful, beautiful thing that we're onto here, because it has such far-reaching benefits, and you can be an activist in any way that you want. You don't have to, you know, chain yourself to trees like some of those activists do, or worry about the meat and dairy industry coming after you necessarily because you're just doing figure, you know, or you're just making delicious vegan recipes. Probably not going to take you out for that. I don't know about me. I've had some articles written about me from the meat industry, but anyway, that's my story. So that's basically it. Now, last thing I just want to touch on, because I've said what we say, how we say it, who we are when we say it. Be the best version of you can be. Don't be that stereotype, the angry, aggressive, annoying, judgmental, preachy vegan. That's one of the biggest walls why people don't go vegan, because they think if they go vegan, they'll become that. Don't be that person. Rise above that. Be a positive, healthy, happy, shining example of what it means to be a vegan. Be happy. Don't think, oh, I feel guilty about being happy because the animals are suffering. I get that. I felt guilty for a long time. It did not serve me. So many more people interested in going vegan now that I'm happy and approachable and shining and glowing. That's what they want. People want to feel those things. If they look at you and go, oh, all the vegans I see are really dark and miserable, they're like, why not join that party? Why would you want to? If there's a party full of aggressive, annoying, judgmental, preachy people, you're not going to party there. You're going to look at the party next door and be like, everyone's so happy and chill and welcoming and positive and healthy over here. I might go see all those people. Of course that's where you're going to want to go. So be the best version of you can be. So it's not just about learning the facts and spreading the message. It's also about nurturing yourself and trying to be a good quality human. Trying to be a peaceful person, you know, exercising, meditating, eating well, being grateful, spreading the love, being altruistic, doing good deeds, helping others, you know, like not talking shit about people, just trying to be a positive role model in as many ways as possible. And the more that you can model that behavior, that's just another way of having people be curious about who you are. And one of the biggest aspects of who you are is I'm a vegan. It's just another way. You don't have to eat healthy. You don't have to meditate. You don't have to do those things. Of course not. But I think there's a lot of value to doing it in terms of inspiring, encouraging, and motivating people to learn more about veganism. Last thing I wanted to tell you about is the technique that I hadn't focused on yet. You know, I'm saying be chill, be positive, and you're like, yeah, cool. And then you walk out and someone says, bacon, and you're like, There's a really very specific technique to dealing with this. So I'll explain it to you, and I'll use the sensation of aggression or anger. Anger is a really common one, and it's a very fast-acting emotion. It comes up so quick, right? In these conversations we have, you feel angry or frustrated. So the technique I'm going to tell you is based on my practice of hundreds, probably maybe thousands of hours of meditation. And I know it works because it's completely changed my life. Like if you knew me 5 years ago to who I am now, I'm not a different person. I'm more of who I always was supposed to be. But I have so many layers of filth over my shining light, and meditation helps take those, it helps shine you up, it helps take those layers off. So that's all it is. It's not this hippie weird thing, it's simply an exercise for your mind. Meditation is like bicep curls for your mind. Makes you sharper, makes you more clear, makes you less reactive. And that's what most of us are, very reactive. So let's say you're having a conversation, someone just says something that irks you, and you get angry. It just goes boom, so quick. And anger generally feels something like tension in your chest perhaps, maybe clenching, heat, You know, there's a few examples of what you might feel. They're the physical sensations. It's all about the physical sensations. It's not about your emotions or your thoughts at the time. They can be important, but if you want to go to the deepest root of why we suffer, I could explain it to you if you want, and if you have a question about it, I'll tell you, but if you just take my word for it and work with it, it's the physical sensations. Pressure, tension, itchiness, heat, cold, dampness, pain, physical sensations. It's really important to understand that. 50% of this technique is working with the physical sensations, observing the physical sensations. 50% of this technique is accepting the moment as it is. Accepting these physical sensations however they are. Because this is what we usually do. Let's say we get angry. Now we usually do one of two things. We either resist it and say, I don't want to be angry. I wish I wasn't angry. Why am I angry now? I was going so well and this person's made me angry. And I don't want to be angry. We resist. When we resist, we're just adding fuel to the fire. We're just feeding it. We're resisting it. We're creating more conflicts. That's one of the main things we do. The other main thing we do is we try to escape it. Oh, I'm angry. Oh, what can I do? You know, I'll call a friend, or I'll have a beer, or I'll smoke some weed, or I'll just watch a movie, or zone out and watch TV, or I'll eat food, emotional eat, you know? We do something like this, or something destructive. We avoid really feeling it. So we either resist or we run. Generally. Almost always. This is the total opposite of what we should do. Because when we do those things, we're teaching ourselves that we can't handle it. We can't handle the feeling. That's why we're resisting. We can't handle it. That's why we're running from it. So every time it comes, and it will continue to come, it will be like this tidal wave crashing over you. And you've got no idea how to surf it. What we should be doing, how we come out of this reaction pattern, is the total opposite of resisting and running, is we face it. So let's say you're in a conversation and this anger comes up. You go into it, you feel it. Okay, well, as soon as you're aware, it might be 5 minutes in, and then you become aware, oh, I'm angry. Okay, what's the physical sensations here? Okay, there's tension in my chest, and you just feel what that feels like. You really go into it. There's tension, I'm clenching my jaw, there's heat. You're observing the physical sensations, and then on top of that, 50% equal on both sides. You're observing, and then you're saying, it's okay. I'm angry, there's this, there's that, there's that. It's perfectly okay. It will pass. This is a very key point. It will pass. It is all impermanent. Every single sensation you've got will pass. Whether you, a good example would be like this. Cigarette smoker. They quit smoking, but then they get this very strong craving to have a cigarette. And they do. They go, oh, I have to have a smoke, because if I don't, I'm going to have this feeling here. If only they had a timer that said, in 4 minutes, that craving is going to be pretty much gone. They'd be like, oh, it's only 4 minutes. Okay, I can handle this for then. But because we don't have that timer, we get this feeling, we think, oh my God, until I smoke a cigarette, I'm going to have this very uncomfortable craving, maybe for the rest of my life. So I'm going to smoke. Only they realize it's so impermanent. It's just about to pass. And so what is the point in getting so worked up about something that's just about to leave again, right? That's with all the sensations. Now, if you smoke, you've just gone deeper into your addiction and told yourself, I can't handle this, so I need my drug. If you go, oh, I'm just going to observe this uncomfortable craving, and then it might be 9 out of 10 at first, and then it's 8 out of 10, and 7 out of 10. It might last for 10 minutes at first, and then 9 minutes, and then 8 minutes, right? And then you get to a point where a craving comes, and you're like, huh, I can barely feel that, and it's probably going to be gone in a second, and then you just get distracted, and it's like, oh, these cravings mean nothing to me now. Because at first I was so strong, I couldn't handle them. But I've observed them so many times that I've become comfortable being uncomfortable with this particular thing. And a 5 out of 10 craving now feels like a 4 out of 10. It's like when you first start surfing, a 3-foot wave is big. It's like, oh man, it smashed me. But then you start surfing 3-foot waves and like, this is easy. Then when a 4-foot wave comes, it takes you a couple of waves maybe, but then you can surf that too. And then 8-foot waves, you can surf as easily as how you started surfing 3-foot waves. Does that make sense? So initially when you're talking to people, and someone really riles you up, you might initially get angry, for example, or get sad, whatever, and roll in that for the next hour. But then you go, oh, I'm angry and this worked out. Okay, so what are my physical sensations? Okay, accept it. It's all good. It's all good. It might be there for another hour, another day, but the technique is still the same. And then next time, you might have this thing happen again, and you go, oh, 45 minutes later, you're like, oh, okay, I noticed a little bit sooner this time, and I'm going to accept, and that's how you come out of it. That's how you stop reacting in this way to people. It makes you more steady, it makes you more peaceful, it makes you more calm. It gives you this space between your anger and your movements, however you want to approach situations. So that's the technique. Now, something you can practice by spending a full hour or half an hour or 10 minutes sitting and just working with your sensations, or you can just practice it in the moment, day-to-day life. You can go to a course and do 10 hours a day for 10 days if you want as well. I've done that a bunch of times. But the point is that that's the technique, and you can work with that. You have something to work with now, and you will see, if you practice this technique, you will see that you suffer less, and you suffer for less long as well. So it might sound, there's a whole reason why it works, which it's going to take another half an hour to explain. I can if you want to hear it. But if all you remember from all of what I just said is to observe the physical sensations and to accept the moment as it is, and understand that they will pass, they will all pass. So observe physical sensations, accept, and remember that it's impermanent. If you can just remember those three things and just practice a little bit with that, you will see great results. Aside from that, I really think that there's not too much else to say except that we are in the midst of something so horrific. I mean, a lot of great things are happening for veganism. There's a huge movement towards a more ethical future, and I'm so optimistic about it. But each and every one of us can make it happen that little bit more fast. You never know the impact you're going to have, or who you're going to influence, or the ripple effect that will have. And I would just urge you so much to please do this good work and do what you can to spread this message. Give it some thought, give it some consideration, because you will literally be saving lives. You will be reducing so much suffering in this world, and really I don't think there's anything that any of us can think of that could be more important than that. So please consider how valuable you are as an asset to the animals, to the vegan movement, and apply even a portion of your life to spreading this message and doing whatever it is that you can do, contributing in your own way to make this world a more peaceful place. And when you do that, you'll truly, I believe, feel like you'll be fulfilling a very deep purpose inside of you, and you will also get so many benefits from walking that path. So that's it. Thank you very much.
A question?
Yes, I think if anyone wants to ask any questions about anything I said, yeah?
I've got a lot of questions.
Wow, let's go.
I've been vegan for 9 years.
Respect. Thanks for being a pioneer.
What's that?
Thanks for being a pioneer.
Yeah, well, that's what I wanted to ask you. I've been activist for 35 years, and like when you said how long people have been in the room, like this is 100% up in 5 years. I've seen so many people come into this movement and stay for 1 or 2 years, and they go. I mean, you would not believe how many people I've seen go vegan who are now not vegan, many of them are meat eaters. And so one of my 5 questions for you is, why do you think people don't stay vegan? Or why don't they stay activists? Or both? What's your take on it?
I'm really curious about your take as well, but I'll give you my answer first. I'd say that probably the biggest reason, especially with prior decades, is social pressure. It was just so not normal, and you would be outcasted, and most people just want to do what the crowd's doing. That is just human nature. We just want to follow the crowd. The crowd was not at all walking that way. You needed some really extreme, really switched on, really confident and courageous people to walk that path, just like you. So, like I said, respect, because just the typical timid person would not have survived. You can't, because you will get the ridicule. First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. That's the process. That's what Gandhi said. And those people who don't have that courage and don't have the strength or whatever it takes to walk that path quite alone on that path, they need the community support. They need to feel like they belong, and they can't handle those conversations or that kind of, like, they're not going to last. So that's why it's so important that it gets to this tipping point where it is in the mainstream, and before you tell someone you go vegan and they're like, what? Like look at you like you're some sort of freak or alien. And then it's like, yeah, no, I'm vegan. And they're like, yeah, cool, yeah, I'm vegan too. My neighbour's vegan, or yeah, no, my daughter went vegan the other day. Like this is like this totally different thing. And you go, oh, so we're cool? And it's like, yeah, we're cool. And it's like, oh, maybe I can stay with this. But I'd say that's probably the biggest thing. I mean, there's probably other reasons in terms of, I guess health is probably a big thing. Maybe there's so much information now about how to be a healthy vegan, but you know, the internet hasn't been around for 30 years, right? And probably a lot of these studies haven't been around that long either, so people probably did it and probably weren't eating right and probably didn't thrive and felt worse and thought this is not okay for me and I don't want to die. So, and everyone's telling me I am going to die. Even doctors today are going to tell you you're going to die. So of course they're like, okay, my doctor told me I need it, or I'm not feeling good, or I'm freaking out and I don't really know what to do. I'm just going to eat meat. You know, and I'd say that's probably another big reason why people didn't stick with it as well. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely think about the societal things and how, have you read the book Vegan Freak? I think it came out in the 90s. Two vegans wrote a book basically about what it's like to be a freak.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we were freaks. We still are freaks to a lot of people.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
that really resonated with me, with a lot of people I've seen come and go, because you get to a point where you can't be the only vegan in the village. You know, not many people, as you say, can withstand that pressure.
That's right.
But I think one of the other issues is that it is actually quite easy in this world to live in a world where you can just think, you know what, I just don't want to know about it. And so even though vegans who have known about what's happening to the animals and what's happening in the world, it is actually quite easy to shut that down. You know, there's only so many videos you can watch before you just can't watch anymore. There's only so many times you can hear it before you think, you know, people I think get almost overwhelmed and their compassion just gets really, I don't know, it just dissipates, or they just can't handle it anymore. Plus that you live in a society where you're the freak. I think those are of my former friends who were vegan, I think most of them are they just got tired of being the only one.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I think we are at a tipping point, definitely see it.
Yeah.
Because
You
it
must
used to be
have
I knew every vegan in Christchurch. I used to invite to my house for my vegan anniversary dinner. Now I couldn't fit you all in.
All right.
That was
Well, can we still come?
It's a pop-up now.
Oh, sweet. I mean, it must have been so great to have been here, like been doing this for so long, and then in the last 5 years seeing such an explosion.
I feel like I've always felt history was on my side.
Yep.
But I
History?
yeah, no, history was going to be on my side.
Oh, okay.
If we are going to look back, just like we look back in slavery, and think, what were those people thinking? But I didn't think I would be alive to see the shift, and I think I'm seeing a shift.
Yeah, well, why would you think that? Because for so many years, nothing much changed.
Yeah.
So of course you would think, well, this is maybe one day, but there's been no change in 20 years. So probably there might not be for another 20, and then all of a sudden, in pretty much 5 years.
Something shifted in the last 12 months, I think.
Yeah, well,
this time last year, we were still dealing with vegan baiting in the media, and now the media seems to be like saying nice. I mean, Mike Hoskins, who you don't know is a fascist kind of broadcaster, actually said that maybe a plant-based diet was fascinating. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
You know, if he's saying that, maybe I shouldn't be vegan. You know, you know what I'm saying? Like when you have people saying things like that, this year has
that's
been
right.
a
Oh, it's
change.
been a huge year
Yeah,
in a
it's
lot of
been a
reasons.
big year.
And I mean, the year before was a huge year, and I think for the last 5 years they were all kind of huge years.
They have been,
Each year has been huge in its own way. So I mean, yeah, it must be amazing to go, whoa, like so much is happening all of a sudden, and in so many realms of this, in terms of the food products, you know, what they're doing with the meat analogues now, all the environmental information, the new documentaries coming out, how much more mainstream it is, celebrities talking about it.
Social media.
Yeah, social media, like exactly. So yeah, there's so many. It's just all kind of just pulled together and just gone bang. And like Bill Gates is investing in plant-based meat. The CEO of the biggest meat producer in the USA is investing in plant-based meat. Richard Branson believes that the way what we do to animals, where things are passing in the not too distant future, and you know, some really big influences in the world are getting behind it.
Stevie Wonder's vegan.
Right, yeah, and there's a reason why they're all getting behind it. They know exactly what they're doing. You know, these aren't silly people. They are some of the smartest people in terms of business and things like that in the world that are getting behind this. So yeah, it's a very, very special time. I mean, of all the times to be excited about veganism and the vegan movement, this is it right now. Yeah, it's very exciting.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah, go for it.
Just, you know, in that context of the fact, like, to me, you guys are very new vegans, and you're a new vegan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're a 4-year-old vegan,
Yep.
and a 28-year-old plus vegan. What do you think new vegans can learn from like the older vegans, and what can we older vegans learn from the newer vegans?
That's a really good question. I guess, I mean, I'm interested in the progress that you did see over all these years. I thought your question that you asked, the first one about why people come and gone, I think that's a really interesting topic that we could hear more about from you. In terms of, you know, how you got through the challenges and the different type of attitude that people have and how you've seen it change. All that I think would be really interesting to share more about, just the progress that you've seen. I think you'd probably do a really interesting speech actually, like sharing all those kind of things. I'd be interested to hear. What can you learn from us? Maybe, you know, I'm not really sure. I mean, the arguments are the same and things like that, but perhaps just, you know, things like social media. If you've been doing this for 30 years, maybe you could learn something about how powerful social media is to use, and learn from people who are good at that, how it's done. You know, it's a really good question. I'm not really too sure what you could learn from us. I mean, what do you think?
I think what I really get from new vegans is their vigour.
Yeah,
And
sure,
it's,
right.
Very helpful for me to hear it again, because you know, like, oh yeah, that's right, I'm a vegan. Like when you spoke last night, some people would say to me, oh, well, why would you go? It's like that you've converted. And my feeling was that a good choir must always rehearse. You know, that
exactly.
Christians go to church every Sunday. It's not that they've forgotten the story of Jesus, but it's that constant being topped up.
Absolutely.
And when I came to hear you speak last night, it was, I mean, although obviously everything you said about my maybe good about, because it's the way you put it together, I found it very inspiring and invigorating. So I think from new vegans, the way they put it together, the way they set their passion keeps me going, because they're so passionate and strong about it, and innocent as well. You know, new vegans are very innocent. Just lovely.
Thanks. I had a guy who'd been a vegan for a long time. He made that shirt vegan. It says compassion. What does it say?
Non-violence.
Yeah,
Non-violence for animals.
And then on the back it's got like all these things about the environment and peace and all these things. It's a really cool shirt. And he said to me, I can't remember exactly, it was something like, dude, you know, I've been a vegan for such a long time, but I haven't done activism in years, like in a decade or something like that. And he's like, just seeing you like get out there and just smash it out, you've made me want to get back into activism. And he has been, and he's loving it again. But I guess he just got burned out, and then someone he saw that was fired up, you know, like, it's like that saying about a candle loses nothing from lighting another candle. And it's like the fire just lit him up as well, and so I guess that's probably pretty cool as well. Yeah, and maybe, you know, new types of activism that we're doing, and maybe you could teach us some things that have been left behind that you've found valuable. Yeah. Any more?
Yeah, I've got more, but I just got
No, go for it. You've got good
sorry.
stuff.
Don't want to take the carrot.
Don't worry about it, we can get through all of it.
Vegan, what I said, but I'm a bit
No, it's fine.
I just want to know what your vision is. I mean, I've always said to my children, but as a joke,
Yeah.
when the vegan revolution comes, we'll have like vegan ice cream in every street corner.
Yeah,
so
for
what's
sure.
your vision of a vegan future?
Yeah,
what's it going
100%.
to look like?
Oh, it's going to look just like that. It'll be just the total opposite of what it is now. The people who are still eating animals will be looked down on. They'll be shunned. There'll be, you'll just be able to get all foods that are vegan. It would make no sense to keep any others. It'll be a big part, I think, because of the environment rather than ethics, unfortunately. But I mean, I could be wrong about that. But I think that it'll just be like everyone will just feel a little bit more comfortable saying it's for the environment. And I think that, the people that are still consuming animal products will be looked down on by the rest of society. And it won't be that we need to, you know, right now, like the biggest thing that always shocked me is that vegans are the smallest, such a tiny percent, where 99% of people are opposed to animal cruelty. And it'll flip, and then it'll just be this like little bit of percentage who are like these like barbarians who are still eating animals. And I think it'll be a lot more aggressive. The vegans will be a lot more militant than people think we're militant now. No. When this happens in the future, if people start seeing people eating it, they'll have to hide it because people just won't stand for it at all. And we'll have everyone on our side. So people will be afraid to eat animals, just like, you know, a Nazi wouldn't be comfortable walking down the street with Nazi uniform on, because people will attack them, you know, which happens all the time. And So there'll probably be like this underground market kind of thing, and there'll probably be busts from people who are selling meat on the black market. And I think that's what it'll be like. That's probably what it'll be like, and people will go to jail for it. So that's what I assume is going to happen. And yeah, we'll have all the foods we've got now. All the, you know, McDonald's will be vegan and Pizza Hut will be vegan. Yeah, I mean, even in Australia now, Domino's is bringing out vegan cheese on their pizza. This is one of the biggest fast food retailers in the country, in Australia. They're putting vegan cheese on their pizza now. So yeah, I just can't imagine why it can't happen either, because it's for every reason better. So I fully see it. Like, I fully believe it can happen, and factory farms will start shutting down, and slaughterhouses will start shutting down, and these places will convert into maybe wind turbine facilities or solar panel facilities or whatever they start doing. And these people that we're killing, they'll just go out of, will start to exist less and less, and the world will be that little bit more peaceful in terms of humans being more peaceful and not creating these killers. And also obviously the huge amount of environmental destruction and animal suffering and killing getting so much lower as well, and the whole vibe will change. You know, the whole vibe of the world will change, I believe, because we're constantly putting, not us, but most people are putting in products of violence into their body, and we live in it. Everyone's doing it. There's so much killing in the air. Millions and millions and millions of animals every single day, like over 1 billion a week. Well over 1 billion a week if you include sea animals. That's in the air. Someone walks in here right now and we've all been chilling. The atmosphere, which is a very real thing, the energy in the atmosphere is chilled. If we've all had this big fight and then we stop fighting, but then they walk in and it's like, ooh, it's a bit tense in here. It's a very real thing. Energy and atmosphere is a very real thing, tangible beyond what our eyes can see. Think of this world, the energy in this world. We just live in it. We've never known anything different. But isn't it interesting that so many people are anxious and depressed and sleep all the time, or they can't sleep at all, or they're drugging themselves with food and actual drugs and television. They don't want to sit in this discomfort. I think a lot of that will actually lift, and there'll just be this much more peaceful, easy vibe, because there'll be so much less violence and killing in the air. That's my belief. Yeah. Any more questions?
How soon?
Oh, probably, I don't know, like
Right.
2018, I'd say, something like that. I think that's the $1 million question. I had no idea, you know, because you never know what's just around the corner. But I've never really been asked that, and I've never really thought about it. Because for me, it doesn't really matter when. The job is the same. My job is exactly the same. If someone said it's going to happen in 5 years or in 5,000 years, I wouldn't change at all what I'm doing, because I'm doing everything I can do already. So when? It's such a good question. I really don't know. Could be 20 years, could be 500 years. Slavery took 400 years to get abolished.
No, I don't think it's going to be as simple as that. You know, industry is going to revolt.
Oh yeah,
There's going to be some wars going on.
Absolutely. I mean,
You've got to be prepared for that.
Yeah, they're gonna fight so hard. They're gonna, with everything they've got, and it's gonna be really.
And if there's going to be any time for there to be pressure on vegans to turn, then it's going to be pressure from industry like that, putting that energy out there, that big old nasty.
They've got so much money, and like, it's not just them. There's so much corruption tied up in animal agriculture in terms of pharmaceutical industry and politicians, and it's actually just extremely corrupt. So there will be a huge fight, and it will be a war, and there'll be all those die-hard meat eaters who think that we're taking away their right to eat meat, and it will be ugly. There'll be a lot of ugly times, no doubt about it.
We've got to get our kids ready.
Yeah, there was a lot of ugly times, you know, like the Civil War in the USA. That was ugly because part of the country wanted to abolish slavery and the other part didn't. There was a civil war. I'm not sure how many people died, but I'm fairly sure it was at least hundreds of thousands. They went to war over their right to keep slaves. Yeah. So, you know, there will be some serious things going down about people wanting to cling on to their right to kill and eat animals. It's going to be really interesting. But until then, just use social media. Did you have any other questions?
I do, but I know people got their hands up, so
I'm just really curious. I'll answer all their questions as well, but what else you got?
I wanted to ask you, you know, I noticed like in your speech, you kind of make, like last night it was a soft one, tonight was a strong one, like a call to action, like saying people got come to do something. Why you don't ask people to make a lifelong commitment? I mean, is that just because you haven't thought about it, or because you think, hey, God's a bit heavy? Because I kind of think we need to be asking people to make a lifelong commitment to the animals, because there's so much in the world now. People make a commitment, they do something for like 1 or 2 years, and they go to the next thing. They play netball for 2 years, then they go to football. You know, I think we should be asking people to make a lifelong commitment to the animals. That's what I did in 1983. I said, this is my life, and I've stuck with it. And it's just because it occurred to me, I think because I was taught by nuns. But, you know, and they do. And I just think we need to be asking people to, you know, how long are people going to
that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
I just wondered why you didn't, or maybe...
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I do. Sometimes I say, I don't tell them you should make it a lifelong commitment. What I say is...
To consider?
What? No, not even. What I say is, and what I had to do to make this stick in my life was I said, from this day on, I vow to be the best vegan I can be. And that vow helped me so much, because every time I considered, should I do this or should I do that, eat some sort of animal product, I remembered my vow and I said, no, I've made a vow to myself and I made it for a reason. I stuck to it. So just like the rest of what I do throughout that speech, I tell my story, and I do often say that vow, and I guess last night I just didn't because I was, whatever I was doing, getting carried away in the moment. But generally I do say that, and so when people say, oh, I'm struggling a little bit, I just say exactly what I just said. And I said, well, you know what helped me? This is what helped me. Maybe that would help you as well. And I'm like, yeah. Rather than saying, you should make a vow, I don't know, I just feel like, I don't think that's wrong, but I think for me at least, encouraging it through talking about my own experience usually works better. Because then they're like, oh yeah, maybe I could do that as well. And I was like, okay, all right, calm down, stop telling me what to do. You know, just a delivery thing, just personal strategy, and that's not necessarily right or wrong. It's just the way I would probably approach it. But no, that's a really good idea. And you know, I'm the same. I made a vow on a day, on a specific date, and that definitely helped me a lot. That meant something to me.
Because I think our movement needs people to be here for the long term, because you can't build a movement when people are coming in and out. And we have a handful of people in Aotearoa, New Zealand, who have been here doing animal rights activism for decades, who have the institutional origin. You know, we can't build when people keep leaving. For
sure, I agree. I mean, I see that's one thing where I think we probably feel quite differently about. And because you've had a lot of experience over those years with people leaving, but me in the last 4 years, I have had basically no experience of that. I haven't seen anyone go vegan and go back. Like really, like not really at all. So I think that's one huge difference maybe that how we see things now is maybe due to your past experiences, that's like a big thing for you. Whereas because I've barely witnessed that at all, for me it's a non-issue. It's like, yeah, a few people will leave, but who even cares to focus on that, because look at all the people coming. It's almost it's an issue, but it's almost so insignificant because of the few numbers that, but it is an issue. But I guess it's different because for you it's been a big issue for a long time, where for me I have barely seen it be an issue at all. You know what I'm saying? But it's still definitely valid point, and maybe I just haven't noticed it as well.
But also maybe in 5 or 10 years, you might think, oh my God, you know, there's people who are like, you know, I look at people who are comrades, who are shoulder to shoulder with me, and, you know.
Yeah, it'd be, so I'll be interested to see.
Because I think there has been a shift. Yeah. I just think it's maybe the nature of humans that we don't, you know, we just do things for a short time.
Sure, maybe. We'll find out.
Sorry to put it. I think it also depends on why they went vegan in the first place. And I think that, because for me it was about more rights, more slave. And that's what I always refer back to. So I think that is a huge influence on people.
Even though, like, to be honest, I have heard of some people who are like ALF, like breaking in and rescuing animals, and like vegan as you get. And then I'm not vegan anymore. Like I've heard it a little bit.
I know lots of people like that.
Yeah, there you go, right?
They've broken the law, they've been arrested, they've gone online for the animals, and it's hardcore vegan, told me off for not being vegan enough. And they're not even...
Fascinating. I'm fascinated by that kind of psychology. I think, wow, like, there's talk me through what happened to you. That's fascinating.
But I think some of it is that we actually need to build structures that people can stay long term. Like if you look at churches, they've got things.
Well, that's right.
Sus, you know, that you keep going back, and you're supportive of it. And now we've got
community.
Groups come, groups go. You know, so there's nothing to.
Community is huge. Community is huge, and that's why people like, vegan. What's an example? Vegan festival. Oh God, preaching to the choir. It's like people go there, they meet each other, they don't feel alone. They have like good interaction. It's a positive vibe. That's that community vibe, and that is important because you are doing something that kind of gets you out of community. So to feel like you have your own in a different way.
This is our vegan expo lady.
Okay.
She's been running vegan expos in Christchurch for 10 years.
There you go.
She's the one that gathers the people together in this community.
Amazing. Right, and that's so important, and that's one of the things that will keep people, you know, and there's lots of, you know, different things like that. Having the groups online and having meetups and things like that doesn't even have to be anything to do with activism. Let's all go out for a potluck or whatever. Let's watch a movie together, you know, that all helps. So.
Get the vegan tattoo, once you got that.
Everyone, yeah.
You're in it for life.
That's it. Cool, anyone? Everyone else I'm going to answer.
Yeah, you were saying like towards the ends about, you know, how, and I agree with you, there's a place for everyone in the movement, and you don't, you know, if you don't want to be a public speaker, don't be one, you know, find it what it is you're going to do, and I definitely agree with that. But I also think that we also sometimes have to consider stepping outside of our comfort zone. You know, like I'm not an event organiser, but I have just organised vegetarian vegan festivals.
Right.
It's not what I want to do, but that is the work that has to be done, and that sometimes we also need to consider doing something that is a little bit out of our comfort zone because no one else is going to be there to do it.
Absolutely,
So, like,
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, support,
couldn't agree more, that's a very good point.
But be prepared for the animals to
step up.
Bloody, I could not agree more. The last thing I wanted to do was go on TV after I hadn't spoken for a whole year. You know?
Yeah, I heard you say that last night. That really resonated with things you do that you don't even want to. You think, surely someone will be better than me, but someone's got to do it. Yeah.
And that is such a good point. That is such a good point, actually. Yeah, you know, you can use your skills and your strengths, but also be open to stepping out of the comfort zone, which is one of the best things you can do. Anyway, if you feel uncomfortable doing something, that's a great opportunity for you to grow. Like, welcome those experiences. Because even, you know, like just anytime, you know, even if you just step out a little bit, your comfort zone increases and you're more comfortable in life in general. And the more you step out, like I'd already stepped out so many times when I thought of doing the vow of silence. For everyone else, they're like, oh my God, I'm like, you know what, it's not that hectic. Remember when I did this, remember when I did that? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like, but the more you step out, like the more you grow, absolutely. So thanks, that's a really good point. Got any more?
I've got things in my head, but maybe.
All right. Hold that thought, and we'll go a few in the crowd, and you know, I'm still really curious about what we got. Yes.
I've had experience being both on social media and personal interactions, having a bit of an argument because I definitely used to use the aggressive approach, and sometimes still do. Try not to.
Yep.
But just being in such a discussion with someone and they're so opposed to it, they're getting heated, you know, it's just getting nasty, and then sort of going, you know, I'm getting nowhere, I've got facts, they've got nothing, but I need to withdraw, I have to completely withdraw and stop this because we're getting nowhere. And they've seen that as a sign as, I win, you've got no more points to make, and I've won. And it's sort of like, I've sometimes on social media, I've also, that sort of made me re-engage. It's like, well, I can't have them think that I've got no points, because I know I'm right, and I'm going back in there and I'm going to get even worse. And then another, the personal interaction time, I sort of just sat there, as Jim was with me, sort of just sat there smirking like, we can't do anything with this childish person who's sort of going, I win, I'm better than you, vegans are stupid. And literally like that, and it's like, I'm not even going to bother saying anything.
Great.
What do you, like, the compassionate approach is, you know, I think you're right, is the right way to go, the love approach. But that can be seen as a sign of weakness sometimes, and a lot of meetings will sort of hold it over you, like, oh, you've got no points because we're not talking. So obviously
I don't think that's necessarily just about the compassionate approach. Like, you can be compassionate but be extremely factual and informative. So I think if you've just decided to stop talking, that's fine. I don't think that really is, you know, has anything necessarily to do with compassionate approach. It's just you making a choice to not engage any longer. So I think if anyone is going to hold over you that you're being respectful and compassionate, I just think, okay, so what was your alternative? You're going to be angry and aggressive. Is that really going to work with this person? Maybe. but probably not. You know, probably if they're not gonna respond respectfully or in any sort of progressive way to you being respectful, then they're probably very unlikely to respond with any progressive way when you are being also aggressive and condescending. I highly doubt it. So now some people are just never going to change. You just got to accept it. Some people will never go vegan, ever, for whatever reason, because they're stubborn, because they don't want it. You know, accept it. Some won't. So many people just need the littlest nudge. Like yoga people and vegetarians, like you can get them so easy. You know? So don't, you've only got so much time. Sometimes I'll go with someone who I know is such a challenge, you know, to challenge myself. And like at the Cube the other day, there was this woman, I'll probably post it, it's kind of hilarious. It was the footage of the baby chicks being macerated. And I started talking to her, she's like, no matter what you say, I will not stop eating eggs. I said, okay, I'm not going to try to stop you eating eggs. I'm just going to tell you some facts. Can I tell you some facts? No, because no matter what you say, I'm not going to stop eating eggs. And I'm like, I know you're not going to stop eating eggs. That's okay, because I'm not trying to make you stop eating eggs right now. All I want to do is tell you a few facts about the egg industry. So let me just tell you, is that okay? He's like, you can try to tell me them. Oh my God, like, so I go, okay, look, like these baby chicks, this is, you know, I explained it, you've got 2 young children right here, can you at all relate to your babies being harmed like this, you know? Can you at all relate? Oh, maybe I can relate, but I'm not going to stop eating eggs. And I was just like, I really don't think there's anything I can say to this person, or any approach that I can use that is going to at all get through to this woman. None that I know. She is beyond my level of expertise. Maybe Tony Robbins would have got through to her, I don't know. But I could not get through to her. I just didn't know how. And I was like, we talked, I tried, and I was like, you know what? Thanks for your time. Thank you. And she was like, oh yeah, cool. She just walked away. I was like, what am I going to do? Just keep beating my head against the wall for another 15 minutes? This is pointless. So there's someone else over there, I'm going to go talk to them. I was like, hey, what's going on? And this dude was like, he basically did it for me. He's like, man, you know I should be vegan. I know I should be vegan. Look at this. Here's the card. His other dude, he was like, all right, man, I get it. What do I do? And I'm like, go to this website. And that was the whole thing. So I was like, if I had stayed with that person, I might have missed these people, you know? And yeah, right? Some people just need the tiniest nudge. Don't bang your head against the wall with them. They'll follow. There's so many people that aren't going vegan because there's not enough other people going vegan yet. So just work on the ones that will do it, and eventually all of them will fall as well. All those ones who thought they never would, they'll be like, oh, everyone else is doing it. All right, I'll just do it because it's not weird anymore. Yeah? And that's really draining and really tiring, and you just don't need that for yourself either. You know, you talk to the people who are sometimes you won't always have the opportunity. Sometimes there won't be anyone, and you know, it's good practice. It's good practice for you practicing that technique I talked about and things like that. You know, you never know. Maybe I've had people who have started with the most aggressive insults, but I can't even repeat here. And even if the kids weren't here, I feel bad repeating it. And then by the end of this communication, they're like, no, actually, you're making some good points, man. And the dialogue completely changed. But that doesn't always happen, you know. So, but you never know when it will. So give people the chance. I'd say give people the chance, but also don't drain all your energy on someone who's basically an immovable object. You know, there's so many people who are compassionate and who are respectful and who aren't just trolling you and want to waste your time. So yeah, just be aware. Yeah.
My question is how to approach this, if you have any advice for approaching this kind of topic with vegans who are really hardline and really don't agree with this. Because this year I ran the Uni Vegan Club, and I found that my biggest challenge, because my main goal was to increase the vegan community and to change this really angry stigma that really existed on campus.
Yeah.
We had a massive amount of success, but my biggest challenge was the fact that most of my initial committee were really, really against this as being a main goal because they really wanted it to be all about activism and all about abolition.
Yeah. I mean, you probably won't gel with those people. I don't gel with a lot of those people. That's fine. Personally, I can respect what they're doing for what it is, and I would never tell them not to if that's what's really in their heart. I'm glad they're doing it. It's important. And you might find that they probably won't respect what you're doing, but you don't need them to. Go your own path and do it your own way. If you can't, because that's a really important and good idea, but so is probably what they're doing. And if you can't make it work together, that's cool, make another one. You know, that's what I would suggest. And then lead by example and show your results. Let the results speak for themselves. What you guys do is great. Look what we're doing. This is also great. Totally different, but great. You know, there's some activists that I would never do activism the way that they do it. But I respect them and I support them and I say, good for you. I'd never do that. Not for me at all. I'm not into that. But respect, because I know you're still getting some results. But those type of people, in my experience, they're probably not going to feel it. They're probably not going to reciprocate that respect. Who cares? That's all right. Who cares? Not everyone's going to like you. Everyone's going to like what you do. Who cares? It's not about them. So yeah, do your thing, and I think that's a really, really important and good idea to break the stigma and to make it a welcoming, inclusive environment, and not just make it about activism. You know, also make it about let's do vegan pizza night, vegan movie night, vegan documentary screening. You know, let's hang. Like, it's important, really important as well. Yeah.
Talking about the same club, I'll be running it next year. So we're just running into some issues with the health center. So we need to kind of step out from just talking to the people and actually to actual doctors which oppose it, and with pamphlets and things like that, very obviously funded by the meat and dairy industry, and there's discrimination and there's bad information and facts given out, and we're just trying to work with that, but not entirely sure how to approach when it's like already, you know, kind of studying the bigger guys, like funded by, well, just change the pamphlets. They can just, because they have like by flyers, you know, and
basically we have a campus health centre.
Yeah.
And we ran a poll because I had a bad experience at the health centre where they basically blamed my health condition on being vegan. I was like, this is interesting. Ran a poll online and had heaps of people responding saying, well, the nurses gave me these pamphlets telling me I needed to eat meat and dairy. The nurses and doctors completely disrespected my veganism. And so one of our goals is to try and change this. Cool. We haven't had a lot of
I mean, that's like a really great form of activism, and it's probably a really big job, but don't expect to change it overnight. Just chip away with there's so much you can use. There's so many good doctors out there with so much good info, so many good documentaries, and you know, you can make a whole bunch of pamphlets that, for example, that basically just summarize it all to the point where they read it and like, okay, well, I'm convinced this is healthy. Because that doctor says it, and this institution says it, and these facts say it, and this study says it, and you know the facts don't lie. And I mean, that's just for example, you could do a counter pamphlet, and that doesn't mean that they might have 50,000 pamphlets. You might have 1,000 pamphlets, but you can't win it overnight. You know, you just chip away and you do your part and you plant your seeds, and as it's happened over the last 30 years. The change happens, so it has to start somewhere, and you can't just expect to, like, you know, have this even fight when it's a very uneven playing field. So just do your part in it, and that will be an important and meaningful job to do, and then people can build on that after you and build on that after you. It's a really good place to start it.
Just because you go to, you know, like Eurostat or something, you go like, oh, studies have shown, or this doctor said, but then you go to the doctor and you're like, this other doctor said, and it's like the two doctors against each other.
Yeah.
It's kind of difficult at times.
I mean, if you are trying to battle with a doctor, you'd probably be much better to go with actual information like that is written down that they can see that's credible, because you're not a doctor and they would respect more the opinion of the doctor. You can just do it totally respectfully, like, oh no, I understand why you feel that way. Yeah, there are some studies that say that. Have you seen studies that say this though? What do you think of them? How do you explain this? Because there are studies that show that you will live a longer life as a vegan and reduce your chances of all these diseases as a vegan, and the only diet that has been proven to reverse heart disease is a plant-based diet. How do you explain these things? Because you have the studies. I know you've got some too. How do you explain these ones? You're going against doctors. This is their field. Studies is their thing. So good luck. But anything you can do is good. And you might get one on side. You might eventually get one on side, and then that might be enough just to crack it in your uni, where then that doctor's gone, no, actually, I looked into it. They showed me this thing, I looked into it, I watched that documentary, Forks Over Knives, based on the largest study ever conducted on the relationship between nutrition and disease, and you know what? I kept looking into it, and I gotta say, I was wrong. Maybe they're not all totally stubborn about it. Maybe they are.
Stuff that you can have in the vegetarian centre, because we give talks to medical students about how to keep a vegan and vegetarian patient, so we've got a whole lot of literature, stuff written by doctors. We can just give it to you to take and give to them. And maybe you could organise for one of our speakers come, we've got a GP who could give a talk to them for PD. So come see us, we've got stuff, just like what James said, we've got all local stuff.
Yeah.
On that topic, have you seen the episode of The Doctors where the people from What the Health go on? All of the doctors on the show are like, oh, but eggs are healthy, blah blah blah. And then if you look at all of the studies that the doctors that aren't vegan are actually like telling them that these are healthy, they're all industry funded studies. So, and then all of the people from What the Health, like all of these studies are not industry funded, so if you like made your own pamphlets, you could use those examples and show that a lot of the studies that they're referring to are industry funded. Yeah,
exactly the point. Any other questions? Yeah, man.
In my workplace, I have meals with the other staff most days, and this is basically a group of very alpha male sort of people, a lot of whom hunt and are quite proud about it. And then there's me as well, the only vegan there. And I just wondered if you had any advice on how to steer the topic onto veganism, because quite often they talk about meat and they talk about hunting. It's either meat hunting or sports. It's really the three options.
Sounds like hell,
which is not ideal. So I was expecting that at some point they would talk to me about why I'm vegan.
Yeah.
Because my approach has usually been to,
be a ninja.
Exactly. Like, make it clear I'm vegan. They see the food I eat. They know I'm vegan. So I was thinking, they'll ask me at some point. It's been 4 months now and I haven't got any questions on it.
Bloody chicken buggers.
So I was wondering if you had any advice on how to steer that.
For sure, mate. Like, with respect, man. With respect, always. For example, they start talking about hunting, and you can be like, guys, I know this isn't the popular position to have in this room right now, but hear me out. Hear me out, all right? Can you hear me out? Are you hunting for pleasure? Is that why you're hunting? Are you killing these animals because you enjoy it? Or are you eating them? And then if it is because you're killing them and eating them, isn't again that just a form of pleasure because you could easily eat something else, so it isn't for survival? And then do you feel that pleasure is a good enough justification when you really think about it for ending these innocent beings' life? Don't shoot me, I was just asking the question, try to just be chill about it and be fun, but maybe you could just throw a little something out there. And they'll have their thing and you can just be like, okay, I hear where you're coming from, but personally I don't think, I disagree, I don't think that's right, and this is why. I'm not saying you guys are bad guys or anything, because I know this is a very normal thing, I just really think it's cruel and unnecessary, and I don't think there's anything manly about it. You can just be straight, you don't have to be that straight up, maybe you can just plant a little seed. Whatever you're comfortable with doing, man. But again, step a little out of your comfort zone at least, and just see what happens, man. And they might just laugh at you and ridicule or whatever. But even if they don't seem like they get it at all, you planted a seed, man. you've given another perspective that they may never have heard of before, and those things can eat away at people. So you never know what it could sprout into. Yeah.
Just as a follow-up question with that, most vegans are female, and the room kind of shows that.
Yeah.
So what would you say is one of the most effective ways to get more males on board with it?
Yes, please tell us.
I honestly think it's so funny because I think women, this is obviously a stereotype, but I think women are more compassionate. I mean, that's kind of a bit obvious as a general rule. But I also think that women are more confident and courageous doing things that they might be ridiculed for. Because I know men, they're like, oh, what will the boys say? They'll say, they'll say this and that. And maybe that's because guys give more shit, so you can expect you're going to cop more. And I think women are quite so, like, mean. But it's definitely.
Do you also think there's that connection between meat and manliness?
Exactly,
you know, I mean, there's that whole thing that.
Exactly right. Yeah. They think it's going to affect their masculinity. And I mean, I can't think of anything less masculine than preying on a little vulnerable, innocent, childlike animal. That's so weak to me, man.
Still breastfeeding as well.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, I mean, it's so weak to me. How would I combat it? Just the way I'm doing, man. I'm trying to make it cool. I'm trying to show that, you know, it's the quality of a leader and courage to stand up for justice and to stand up against, like, to fight violence and to be a warrior, you know, for peace. And chicks love vegans. Vegan chicks love vegan dudes. Like, they love compassion, man. Like, they love it. So, oh man, if only they knew. If only they knew. So many dudes would go vegan. They don't understand. And the tables in your favour, that never happens. You go to a club and you see, it's like you go to the vegan club and it's like, whoa, look at all these ladies here. But I think that I think it'll change, man. Like, I don't know. Again, just like what we were talking about, I think that's starting to become quite a lot more flimsy as well, because it's like all these athletes are being vegan and all these musicians and people that people idolise that are becoming vegan. I think all that's going to help a lot. So.
I think the future for vegan men is good, but we're talking perhaps to get a good balance of men. We're talking a few generations down the track. You know, maybe they're the vegans that we're actually birthing and raising. You know, maybe that's the vegan male future.
Yeah, just keep leading by example. Do you? Anything else? Cool. Oh, did you have any more questions? Back there.
I've got lots of questions about
maybe just ask one more then if you want. Last one.
This, I don't know, you might not be able to answer this one, but you know, I've raised 4 children as vegan and very much on the adults now.
Yeah.
So they're adult vegans, and I'm just reflecting myself. Maybe you can say what you think, because I'm thinking you've probably met a lot of vegans. How many vegans have you met that have been vegan their whole lives, and how are they different? Like, I see us as colonialists. Like, none of us were vegan. We all went down a journey, and then we decided we became vegan. But someone who has always been vegan, like, how are they? I think they're different from us. But I just wondered if you've met like
I've not met a great deal, but I have met a handful.
Do you think they're different?
Yeah, they are, because they don't get it. They don't get what it's like on the other side. They're like, I just couldn't imagine ever eating animals, or I've never tasted meat, so I don't understand that. Or, yeah, they're a little bit different. They're pure. Yeah, which I think, I mean, it's got its benefit, because it's like, I've been vegan since birth, you know, so I've never ever needed to eat an animal product. I'm alive and I'm healthy. That's the benefit of it. But the negative of it is that they can't relate to people and be like, yeah, when I used to eat meat, I used to feel like that too. But what they do is break a really powerful stereotype of a vegan child and vegan adolescent and growing, being healthy and strong. So it's still really important, but yeah, it's definitely got its downfalls as well.
I think one of the biggest downfalls in terms of my children is that, unlike us, we all had a certain part of our life where we were normal,
Yeah.
and where people accepted us for what we
Right,
ate.
right.
My children have always been hassled about their food, and always been the object of curiosity. All vegan children get bullied at some point, you know, for being vegan.
Sure.
And I think it's quite different being a vegan when you're whole. So I thought my children would be more activist-like, but actually they're pretty quiet about their veganism because
Probably
it's
over it.
attracted so much
Yeah.
negative attention growing up that they're just like, oh mum, we just don't want to make a fuss about
Yeah,
it.
I
And
get
I
that.
think that's why I wondered if that's something you may have noticed, that they're not. I mean, are there any hardcore vegan activists who are like vegans?
I knew one that was an activist for a while and she got over it. She was just like, I've tried being angry, I've tried being nice, people just don't get it enough, like fast enough for her to have patience with it. Yeah, she's like the sweetest person, so, but yeah, that's going to be really cool to see because there's all these children now that have been vegan since birth, which hasn't really happened before, you know, before recent years. It's going to be so cool to see this whole generation that we haven't had before of vegans who've always been vegan. I've never eaten an animal. Like, it's going to be, it'll change the conversation, I think. It'll be interesting.
I think we need to really celebrate the vegan children because they're the ones who are doing it hard, not us.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're the ones
gonna
who
go through
do it hard, and I think the more we celebrate them and reward them and praise them in our own vegan community, that we should be like mentors to. We see vegan children, we should always be going up and smiling and say, hey, good on you for being vegan, because
so right.
they're not getting that from anywhere else.
Yeah, you're so right.
And we've got to
Really
support
right.
our children.
That's a really
Because
good point.
they are when I became vegan, I thought, you know what this movement needs? We need elderly vegans who've been vegan for decades, and we need children.
Yeah.
And if we get both of
Well,
those,
the children are great.
yeah,
But yeah, that's a really
But we've
good
got to
point. They need to
support
be
them.
so supported
because
by
they're
us.
getting
So
a
much
lot.
love. Yeah, just to balance it out. No, I couldn't agree more. It's a really, really good point. I'll keep that in mind for myself actually. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed tonight and found some inspiration. Thanks, especially for all your input. That was really useful. I gained a lot from that, I think. And thanks everybody here for any little action you've ever done, any little action you do in the future, any big actions, everything in between. Thanks for listening tonight. And I've got t-shirts as well. If anyone wants some shirts, that is a good form of activism. That just supports me giving free speeches, which is my biggest form of activism. And that's pretty much it. So it was great. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much.